So for the longest time, I've been doing website updates, and I've been keeping a lot of my documentation in Google Docs, or OneNote, and I've been trying to help my team collaborate better, share information. And I know as a consultant, I've done a lot of work using Confluence and enterprise accounts. So I thought, it might be a good opportunity to use a wiki for knowledge management, right? So I want to walk through some use tips, some use cases actually in terms of how you can use something like Confluence and why it's better than using Google Docs. All right, so Confluence, for those who don't know, is a wiki software from a company called Atlassian. They are the owners of Trello. I made some videos in the past about Trello, really good task management tool. And in the enterprise space, so like I've done a lot of work for like Fortune 500 companies in the past, where you have large teams of people and need to have documentation, things like really complex business processes. You would use a tool like Confluence to share that knowledge. So here, I have my homepage. It's pretty bare bones, right? So this just basically shows a list of pages in terms of what I've created recently. And so these are some of the pages. I can show more. And then you have spaces. And I get into spaces, but this is really, like your activity feed of what's been going on recently in terms of like either updates that I've made or I've visited, as you can see right here, and it keeps track of the usage. Now this is a picture of me. So this is my space, and I can be part of a team of people that have access to, spaces. So if I go over to maybe recent, that just shows I've been busy. Right, but spaces is where you can think of these as different sections. So what I've done is that I have spaces for different clients, and then I have an internal space for called eFlat Wiki. And what's good about it is that I can partition off people by space. So if you have access as a client to Allboro, you don't have access to anything else. Versus if you have access to eFlat Wiki, you probably have access to, all of these other ones. So, putting it out there. And then you have, your team. So these are people that have access, that's part of my team. Apps, you could connect to things like Slack, Google Drive, etc. For right now, I'm just really trying to use it for knowledge management, right? Just anything that's in my head, get it out of my head, put it here, and share it. So I'll give an example of if I go to the eFlat Wiki, and here, I am looking at potential. I have sales pages, and then you can open it, and then there's nested subpages. So sales pages, these are the templates that we've built for eFlat that we are going to be tying certain ads to direct to these pages. And then, I just have subpages. And it's really easy to make pages, right? So for example, I have content. If I click on the plus, I can create a page. I can also create a whiteboard, and I haven't touched on this because I've been using Miro and Adobe Freeform down here. But for right now, I've just been focusing on pages. So if I were to create a page, right, it's very basic. You can give it a title, such as test page. And then, there are a lot of templates. I mean, a lot that, I'll be honest, I want to use some of them, but I know I'll get so caught up in trying to build out fancy looking templates that I'll get, distracted. That was my problem with the tool called Notion. Different story for a different time. But the important thing is that if you just want to write text, right, I can write text. But what I can do, for example, is I can format it. I can do, H2s, ... There's horizontal lines. And you have, indentation, text color. So you can really start to, you can really do a lot just with this right here. But one thing I will say is that because it's a documentation tool, you have a lot of options with tables, right? Another one that I like are statuses. Let's see if I can find that real quick. Let me do a search. Okay, status. So for example, let's say you were doing like a particular, maybe like there's a testing process that you want to do. Like you want to update a page, and maybe the first step might be like, I don't know, find image, right? That might be something you want to do. And then I can have a status, and let's say type that in, and I can set the status as in progress, and I can put a color that it's green, so that you know, well, green maybe. Okay, so I have that color right there, and I can just put the status and the activity. And I use this quite a bit sometimes, where maybe it's not in Trello as a task, but I just want to help keep track of where I am in a particular document. You know, statuses, you know, are useful, right? But there's a lot of options in here. Like you can add, you know, date. What else? So let me not get too much into it, but like I said, it's very easy to do pages. Now, what you want to do, let's say I'm done with this, I hit publish, and now I can put access to, you know, anyone in this space can view it, which is good. Or maybe, you know, if like say like your partner, for example, you might want your partner to see something, but not the rest of the team. You could do that. But for right now, I'm gonna do anyone can access it, and now it's create a test page, right? You could always write a comment, you know, after the fact, you know, in terms of that feedback, right? But now you can actually drag this in any area. So I can drag it as part of a sales page. As you can see, I have content marketing, but I can just delete it. I can archive it. I can get the link, and that's useful because if I want a link, now I can paste that to someone else in the team, and they have access to it. But I think really, so let me just delete this one for now. But what I'm using it for, right? I'll give you a good example. Or email newsletters. So I have this email newsletter, and let me just stop for a second. So I'll create my landing page, and right now I don't have anything in the main section. I really just want it to be not get too cluttered up. So I have the sub pages where it has the information. I just write, you know, and I could also put a label, so EPS, you know. And I've just been adding, and these are what I will copy the text and put it into ConvertKit, right? Now another one might be the E-flat blog. This is a good one. So these are things that I'm writing right now, and as you can see, I've written this, but I can hit the pencil to go into edit mode, and you can add images. So for example, I want to add an image, maybe under website management. All right, it's as simple as clicking that right there, and maybe I just want to do that. Okay, now I can align it. I can add a border, but one thing that I like to do is adjust the sizing of the. So right now this is a pretty large image, but I can adjust the width. So maybe I want to make it 400 pixels, and it's going to shrink it down, right? And you can do this for every image if you wanted to make it consistent. But it does a pretty good job just on its own. There we go. All right. And I can remove it. Now you can even do video. So for example, I am a big Loom user, and I can just go grab this link. I can paste it, just a link, okay, but that doesn't really help me because it's just a title, right? But if I click on it, and see, I have some different options here. I can do a URL, I can do inline, I can do a card, right? Or I can do embed. And now all of a sudden, whoa, like I like this. I can Do I have to put in embed code? It does this. So now I have an idea of what it might be about. And it's also pulling in things like the views and what have you. This is one reason why I really like to use, one reason why I really like to use Confluence. Because of the rich media. It's very smart, right? So I can get rid of that. Now, but what's good for my team, though, is that I can put the headings, right? I can put the image, and then, if they want to, they can save the image because they're storing it as the full-size photo. And then from there, they can, I can just tell them, take this page and add it to WordPress, And if I wanted to, I can put a table. I might do that right now as we're talking. Insert a table, and maybe I might want to put the meta tag, meta title. Let's do meta description, right? I want to put the meta description, right? Then I maybe want to put the WordPress category. That's definitely important. And if I want to think of so this might go under like web design, and this is going to let them know exactly when they put the article in WordPress where it should go, and I want the meta description, and maybe I might want the featured image, like the alt text, right? So so this is something that in the past that I've had to go back and clean up, right? And if I hit update, it's saved, right? You could also, there's a lot of exporting. You can export to a Word document, to PDF. So there is a lot of power in a tool like this compared to something like Google Docs. And the reason why I like this way more than Google Docs is because of the organization. Google Docs, is good for writing, but then you have this, I'll just show what I mean real quick. This is just Google Docs. It's just a mess, right? I have not really found a great way to organize all of this compared to this much more organized structure. I can find things a lot easier, right? I know, for example, if I want something for E-flat, I go into the E-flat space. I can go to E-flat wiki. If I'm looking for web development, I'll just go into WordPress dev, and then there's just a lot of information right there, like plugins and etc. There's a lot more that you can do with it, but this is fundamentally how I've been using it, just to create a lot of like structured and nested content, right? Let me see, I can share, I can show you the share. So E-flat wiki. Now if I hit share, right, I can share the link. If you have the free version, you can't share it publicly. You can share it with 10 people, like in your team, right? But if you want to do a public link, meaning that anyone can see the page, that's a paid plan. So you could just add like the members of your team, for example. You can send them a message, or you can just hit copy link. Copy link, and then you could just paste it into a chat tool, right? But if let's see, maybe we could talk about the pricing, all right? It's gonna go right back here. Of course, let's do this. Incognito window. Now we can go to Confluence, and let's see pricing. All right, so what it's saying here is that it's free for 10 users. You can make, one site, so that would just be internal but you can have unlimited spaces and pages, which is really good. Because as you can see, I've already had quite a few spaces, and those all under the free plan, right? And it's good for evaluation. You have this whiteboard feature, which I haven't even touched yet. So to me, like, that's actually like a bonus, because I've used Miro in the past, and I'm using Apple Freeform for things like whiteboarding. All right. So for me, the free version was really useful, but the reason why I switched to the standard is because I want to be able to have more than 10 users. Let's see what else. So, these are all okay. It really, I think, came down to storage, because this 2 gigabytes I know is going to run out really quick. I know that, right? 250 gigabytes is a lot more flexible. The other thing is that I wanted to have the public links, like I mentioned before. I wanted to have the guests. The guests are really important because this is going to be client facing. So here, says that for each paid users, admins can add to 5 guests for no additional cost or licenses. And that's cool, because think of it this way. If I have a client or borrower, for example, and I want to share that space with them, it would be, my understanding is that they can't access it. It's just an internal access for that, this team of up to 10 people. So it's good for internal, but if I wanted to share with a client, then it really got to go up to the standard. And so now that's what I'm going to do. So each of my clients are going to have access to their space if they want to see it, right? And that's going to help with the transparency. But if an internal team, I think you can get away with the free version. But I'll stop here because it's been about 17 minutes. But hopefully this really shows the behind the scenes of how something like a wiki tool can work within your organization. I can see this working good for churches, for nonprofits, for just marketing teams that you're tired of just trading files with Google Docs.